You know, so what we're looking at right here is like pretty consistent edge at whatever that means. And even in the top, you know, on the front we're looking at 650. You know, pretty consistent. And even the thickest point, you know, like even if we're, let's convert this to, you know, so this is an 1/8 inch right at the transition, and then we're working our way all the way down to a 1/16 of an inch, right? So 1/8 of an inch here, 16 out of an inch here, and then we're coming down to 1/32, 3/64, 3/64, 3/64. So I mean, and really what the important part is back up in here, you know, 5/64 here, 5/64 here. So I mean, we're pretty consistent, you know. We're super consistent throughout forging it. That's pretty good. Not bad, bro. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of this off so I have something to grind. And we're gonna pull a straight edge right here on the cutting edge. And then we're gonna address the rock up right here. And why I rock it is because sometimes when you're cutting, it's like thud. You want it to say a thud. You want it to kind of, even when you're coming down like this, you don't want it to thud down on the bottom. So even if you were to do this, it won't throw you back up. You know, so that's why we're gonna rock the ends a little bit, but keep majority of this part flat. So pretty much from here to here it'll be flat, and then we'll just have some slight rock up on both ends. And then I'm probably going to, I want to cut some of this down. Well, probably. Little bit of a rock up, but I'm probably gonna take this top off to kind of keep it that more nostalgic look, and then just kind of keeping so pretty minimal what we're gonna grind. And then probably do like right here. Oops. You know, a lot of people forge this part in. I kind of don't. I just grind it just because I want some room for correction, because like this is the most important part, the spine. So, and my eye is a little bit crooked. You want to grind this thing? Huh? What? why I don't wear glasses. Mask over my hand. Okay. So I always use an old belt. And I got this crazy tool that comes off of like Amazon, and it's like a little diamond triangle. And it's a belt dresser. So you just kind of and what this little carbide thing does is it fractures a glazed belt and refractures it so that it bites again. It's a great money saving tool. Ow, shit! Whoops! It's gonna be so good for camera. So this is my master kit of Mare braid. It's got everything. You see this slight mod I got right here? This slight mod right here is for grinding integrals at an offset and for getting in a couple things. It's the only thing I modded to this. But then this is my original grinder that I just rebuilt this morning. This is my AMK. So I just rebuilt and put new bearings in these. And it literally took me 5 minutes because it just comes as a replacement. These are the old ones. And these are the things, man, I've used this grinder hard for 5 years. And then we recently just put new bearings on it. I had to change the VFD once, but they don't make the VFD. These two grinding companies are epic. They're the ones I always use. Wait, let's grind this. Safety first. I always wear safety glasses when I grind. Never. So because this is already thin, we're gonna start the grind And we're gonna make clearance. So like, did I do this in the grinding video? So like, if you look at this, it takes it off. If you look at this, like my knife's already pretty thin, right? But let's say you have a full knife, full thickness knife, and you're trying to grind it. If you run the grinder like this, you're gonna start hitting your brute to forge. So what you first need to do on something that's this thick is get clearance. So you're gonna grind it like that. Then you're gonna grind it like this. Then you're gonna grind it like that. And always get your clearance. You see what I'm saying? Because if you try and grind this right here, you're gonna end up hitting this. You know what I mean? So that's why you just go slow. And if this is your steel right here, you just go a little bit like this, and then a little bit like that, and then you get your whole grind, and you got to make clearance. So my knife's like this. My knife's like, oh, this is not even working anymore. And so we're gonna take a little bit of clearance and slowly work our way down the blade. So what we're gonna do is clear the edge thin so that I don't grind this part. Because that's the hardest thing about freehand grinding brute to forge, is not hitting your brute side to it. Hopefully that helps people. That kind of, once I realize that I need to like get some clearance first, and like when you grind a knife, when you grind a knife like this, so if this is your knife, you're gonna grind it like this, and then you're gonna slowly work your way like that, then you're gonna slowly work your way up. So it goes in waves. So when you look at your knife, let's say your knife is, let's say you're doing what it looks like when you're grinding a knife is you grinding like this much. That's section 1. Then you're gonna grind up, and you're gonna grind section 2, and then you're gonna blend into section 3. So you go 1, 2, 3. And then I also break my knife up in sequences like this, so it's not all the same grind. So this grind is A, B, C, and this is 1, 2, and 3. So I break mine up in sequences, especially like you don't want a straight grind when you're doing like a drop point or something like that. So mine actually, I grind it in different sections, and then I blend it all together. And that makes more of you can get more of a robust tip if you want, or a thinner tip or whatever. But when you want to leave all this brute to forge, you gotta grind it in sequence. 1, 2, 3. And that's what we're gonna do today. Does that make sense? The Nakiri is a little bit different. All my geometry is, all that wave geometry is built in. That's why it goes thick to thin, right? So now I gotta just blend it all together. And once you get an established flat, so much shit in my face. Once you get an established flat, like now I know, like, see, I can just hold it on that flat with 2 fingers and it don't rock. So I established a flat spot. So once you find that flat spot, that's when you ride it out, and then you want to start in that flat spot again and ride it out, so that you're not guessing and like rocking it back and forth. Once you get a lock, it's it. Like, that's where it is. And when you're grinding, people that grind like this, I don't know what you're looking at, because you can't tell this. And some people have figured out how to do it by just looking at it like this. But the best way to do it is to look straight down. And people, I notice a lot of people, they grind up here. So if your elbows are bent, yes, it's good for your eyesight to look at this, but that's not what you need to be looking at. And this is bad for your elbows. You know what I mean? So you want your elbows to be in a relaxed, neutral position, tight against your body, where you just have to lean forward. But if you have to do this, you have to muscle it like this. Like, you know what I mean? If it's this high and you have to muscle it, then that's putting fatigue on your body. That's why my grinders are so low, is because I need to look straight down this line so I can see the degree of angle that I'm grinding, right? I can't see that degree from back here, right? So you have to look down it so that I can see the degree of angle, right? And then this, my arms are in a neutral state. My hands are locked against my body. And so I'm not like, oh, and it's, you know, it's chattering and bouncing and it's hard to hold. This is locked against my body. My elbows are tucked in. My elbows are not out, which will cause you fatigue. So your elbows stay locked in against your body, and you just have to lean towards your toes. And then you can, and then the cambering system is this thumb is on the position and this is back here. And so you can either hold it like this or hold it like this, but this is cambering yourself. So you're able to apply pressure this way towards the cutting edge, or this hand turns the hand opposite way, but you're creating cross tension against each other. So like this hand is pushing this way, and this hand's pushing this way. So that's how you're building stability in the knife. So you're cross gripping like this, and then you just do the opposite. But you have to be able to be looking down it to see your degree. Like, this is flat, this is angle, this is this. And you want to be looking right at this cutting edge is what you're mainly looking at, and to see the clearances that you have behind here. But this positioning of being locked in and leaning forward is where you want to be. And I see a lot of people's grinders, they're like this, and it may work for them, but you know, for me, I'm not saying that way is the wrong way. You're watching this video, you want to know how I do it? This is how I do it. Hands locked against the body, leaning forward, looking straight down the platen to see my degree of angle. I've had some of the best mobility people in the world come to my shop to give me longevity in my elbows. And even you watch the way I hand sand, my elbows are not tucked out. I'm not hand sanding like that. You'll see. It's all about longevity. So now that we have our clearance, we can start going higher up the blade.
we're constantly checking our geometry, feeling how it falls off. It's important when you grind not to look like this, like, and bend your neck like that, bend your eyes down, stand tall, and make your eyes go down versus your head. Save your neck. I use my fingers because if it burns your fingers, then it's getting hot. Okay. So now we got pretty close with the 60. Gonna hit it with the 80. We're gonna go till it feels, I don't really measure shit, but we're gonna go until it feels like this geometry is feeling good. So we're pretty high. I can go a little bit higher on this side. And then we're gonna basically go to sharp, which is about 10 thousandths of an inch, roughly. So what this machine does is there's a running serpentine belt behind it, and it just helps me get less belt bump. Wherever there's a glue seam, it kind of makes your knife bump, and this kind of cushions it. It's not a necessity to have. It's more of a luxury, but works good. checking our thinness. Ooh, it's gonna be a razor blade. Checking our consistency. And the other thing that this does is I flat ground it, and then this adds just the slightest it adds the slightest convexing to it. Dead flat is never as sharp as convex. You don't want a lot of convex, but you also don't want a lot of flat, in my opinion. Like dead flat, it's not as, to me, it's not as tough and it's not as sharp. Because when you have dead flat, you have this, just dead flat, right? Or let's say dead flats like this, right? But when you have just add that little bit of convexing towards the end, this shaped tip is peeling away and it's sharper, it pierces, versus dead flat and leaving some thickness behind for stability and then putting a little axe point on the top. Okay, so we're gonna clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna clean this up because I want to be able to see it. We cleaned it up so I can see the color. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay away from the edge right here. And we're gonna work this transition because we want this transition to be tempered a little bit more than the edge. And so we're looking to get it so you see it's starting to change brown. Yeah. So a little bit more. See how it's brown right there? It's getting, so I'm running an extra temper on it and we're gonna get it just so that it's, because this would be the breaking point of the knife, right? One, it's notched, right? And then two, it's like, and I mean, and to be honest, this is pretty thick. Like you try and take a steel this piece of thick and try and bend it or break it, you ain't gonna do it. But if it's really hard, it can break. And so this is where all the tension's gonna be on the knife. So that's why you notice there's no color change here. It's just all focused up in this spot. And that's what we're looking for right there, is that extra additional tempering to make sure that that bad boy don't break. Because we want to make usable tools, not just pretty tools. Okay.
you see the difference? Taking all that scale off versus all rubbish. Yeah. Now we got our descaled, you know. Now we can go up and do the finish grinding.
Let's go to 220. And I tell people, if they're afraid of going thin, you know, like you're afraid of grinding and going thin, just take your knife thinner than you're comfortable and then test it on an antler, or test it, not hard, but like test it on something like a 2x4 or whatever. Test it, and then if it chips or rolls, then you know what you're doing wrong, and if something happens, then just pull it back. But I guarantee you will go thinner than you thought that you could go, performance wise.
Okay, so now we are at the geometry that we want. It's almost sharp, and the reason why I leave it away from actually being sharp is because I kind of stop there, because as I'm hand sanding, it's even gonna get thinner. Yeah, so I hand sand all my blades from heel to tip, because I want people to be able to maintain it as they use it. So like if the lines are going this way, right, and they want to maintain it, all they can go is this way. So when they go to maintain it, they're just putting ugly cross scratches inside. So I want all my blades maintainable, so I put a hand rub finish on all of them.
What was the last grit you hit on that?
400. So from 400, and then I drop back down to 220. All right, you ready? So we went up to 400 grit on the machine, and now we're gonna go back down to 220 to sand out all those lines going that direction.
So I actually found some scratches that were deeper than the 400, so I just jumped down to 120. Because I'm not gonna sit here with 220 and trying to go, so just hit it with 120. I jumped down and I wanna go back up to 220 again. And every time I sand a grit, I finish it with long pulls to control where my scratches are. So I basically put a fresh piece of paper and I tilt up this, so it's just, see how it's only getting right there? And I tilt it up and I pull nice, long, fresh scratches. Because that's basically what a hand rub finish is controlled scratches. $220. So because I'm done with 220, I'm gonna put the nice 220 finish scratches in it. Because when you're doing this, you're hooking, hooking, looping, or what? Not hooking, looping, but you're scratching it like. So then once I worked out all the scratches, now we put the nice, almost like brushed finish in. Okay. Then I'm gonna jump up to 320. I'm gonna start sanding all the 220 out in the same direction. And you notice I'm not using the paper that very long. Like, not sitting there and using this bald ass. Once I feel it stop biting, I move. I change. I don't try and use the paper as long as it possibly can, because paper is cheaper than time. Yeah, like, dude, this Indasa, or however the fuck you say it, is the best sandpaper on the planet.
It lasts longer.
It just cuts. I mean, you're sanding hardened steel. It's hardened steel. It can't even be drilled. So to sand it, you better have the baddest sandpaper. I don't have a sponsorship with them or nothing. I physically buy this shit. And it ain't super cheap. But it works, bro. It works. Like, and it works good, you know. Now we're gonna go up. You know, actually, I shouldn't say it works for everything. This paper, this purple paper, the fucking whatever brand this purple paper is, the yeah, it's like the Cubitron 3M. Works better on wood. I don't really like this on wood. It's not my favorite on wood, but I gotta cut some 400. You know what's the hardest thing about Japanese knives and brute forge is kind of accepting
and knowing what imperfections are cool and which imperfections are not. That's the hardest part about like doing these style knives, is like understanding what's a flaw and what looks cool and what looks, you know, what looks, you know, like what brings character versus what's being lazy. That's the hugest difference. Is like, is that motherfucker just lazy, or is that something that adds character or value to the knife? You know what I mean? It's the same thing with rat rods. You know, these dudes, is it a rat rod or is it just unfinished? Well, I just soak them with primer. Bro, it's a rat rod. What are you talking about? You know? Like in the car world, we had the same thing. And so the car world, like to me, the Brute to Forge knife is kind of like the rat rod in the car world. It's like, it's got some rustic feel, but to match that perfect patina, you know, when you try and fake it, it looks awful. Same thing with the Brute to Forge. You cannot fake this. This is all with the hammers, bro. Like this is all hammered steel. You can't fake that. You can cut it out and texture it. It'll never look like this. And then, but if you look at like the original rat rods, they were like candy painted frames, custom suspensions, like powder coated springs or air ride or juiced, and like you open the engine bay and it's all just pinstriped and dope, and everything's ported and polished and just billet, like everything is dope on it. Interior's all sick, digital Dakota gauges, like everything lights up, and it's just the paint is like, so they weren't lazy at all. That's the look they were going for. And sometimes, like, when you get into this Brute to Forge world, like, you can kind of be lazy. And there's something that Harvey Dean always told me: knives can be simple. Because I told him I like simple knives. I don't like bedazzled knives with 10 million things on it. Like, I like simple knives. But what Harvey Dean told me is, don't ever forget, every knife you make can be simple, can be modest, but it has to have a little bit of elegance. And that was the key right there. That was the words of wisdom that has rang in my head. And so just because it's Brute to Forge, it doesn't mean that I don't hand rub finish it. Doesn't mean that I put a good, you know what I'm saying? Like, always, every single knife has a little bit of elegance, or why even make it? Right now, I've been getting a lot of phone calls from knife makers saying that they're having a hard time to sell their knives, and the economy's kind of going bad, and the market has dropped for sure, drastically. And so you see a lot of like people panicking a little bit, people that have quit their jobs and went full-time knife making, and they always ask me for some advice, and I don't know if I'm the person to ask for advice, but they always ask me, and so I told them, you're gonna ask me, I'll give you my opinion. Like, I make knives full-time, but I also have another job. I run a farm. You know what I mean? I don't have all my eggs in one basket. And the reason for that is because I do not want to be controlled by the market. I don't want to be controlled by the consumer. I want to protect what I love in my art, and then the consumer will respect that and see that and appreciate that, and so I tell them, hey, when the economy goes bad, does Rolex make an economy watch? Does Lambo make a smart car? Like, no, man. We're in the luxury business. Handmade knives are, I don't care how you classify it, it's a luxury. You can buy a cheap knife and take care of it. I got a $30 knife in my house that I had for 15 years, and but we're in the luxury business, and so if you look at it as that, and I tell people all the time, bro,
You see the knife makers, they're like, okay, my $1,000 knife didn't sell, so they start making $500 knives. Then it'll sell for a little bit, then that won't sell. And then they'll drop even lower. And they're chasing the market that's being affected by the economy. You want to be up in the luxury area where they're not getting affected. I mean, you always want to make the knife for the common like blue collar workers like ourselves, but this is how we make our livelihood. Is luxury knives. And then I make my knives that like I personally could afford. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I always make some knives that are attainable to average people, but I'm in the luxury business. Like, I make some of the most expensive knives in the world. Like, that's what I do, you know, like, because I'm sitting here hand rubbing it, not a machine's not making it, you know? And so they chase the market, and then they're not making few knives anymore. They're just making simpler and simpler and simpler. And then those knives lose elegance, you know? And now you're not having the elegance, and now it's not special anymore. And now you lost the whole reason why we hand make these bad boys, you know? And so I tell people, I'd rather, if I didn't sell a knife on this last drop, I would just go get a side job and make knives at 9. I wouldn't try and make cheaper knives. I just go get a regular job. You know what I mean? I do have a regular job. I run a farm, you know? And I just tell people, don't stress, dude. Don't let the economy or things take your passion away from knife making. Don't chase the consumer, and do not let the market control you, you know? And that goes for any art form. You know what I mean? Like, it goes for any type of art, man. You know, the number one reason why I don't take requests is because I'm protecting my interest and love for it. And that's the same reason why I don't take deposits, is because I don't want to work for anybody. I do this because I work for myself. The best knife you will ever get from me is a knife that I really wanted to do. And if you tell me what to do, I won't want to make it. Happens time and time again. People tell me, I want this knife, I want this knife, I want this knife. I don't want to make it, bro. If I don't want to make it, I ain't gonna make it. Because it won't be good. Because I won't care. I mean, it'll be good, but it won't be the best thing that I can make. And I'm only interested in making the best thing that I can make. The richest you will ever be is when you can tell people no. What? Right? That's the richest you'll ever be. Is when you can say no, 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 A and you. That's the richest you'll ever be. When you answer to no one, that's when you can sit back. Money, what is money? You can have money. I was raised with money, and then I chose to be ghetto. No, but you know what I mean? Like, so many people, they have money, but they don't have freedom. They gotta be here, they gotta be there, they gotta answer this, they gotta do this, they gotta do that. I gotta wake up, I gotta walk from my house to here, make what I wanna make, and I ain't gonna complicate it, you know? And if I gotta go down and be an electrician again, or go work construction or whatever, I'll do it, just so that when I come in here, I'm the richest motherfucker ever. I come in here, I can tell anybody no, because this is my passion, this is I love. And it's not about just telling people no, but it's about, you know, it's not about being rude. Like, if somebody comes up to me and says, oh, I want to make a knife, I'm not saying like, no. Like, that's not the point I'm getting, is that when people are like, you should do this and you should do that, and you're like, no, or like, or oh, you should take this sponsorship to help pay your bills. No, I can buy my own car. I can put my own gas. I can put food on my own table. And I don't live lavishly, so I have the shit I need. I don't owe anybody money. Then I just work. You know, it's not a fast money game. Like, I work, I sell it, I get paid, and I make another one. But to me, that's rich because I can just wake up when I want, work when I want, which is all the time. Workaholic. It's not just the American dream, it's just the dream, right? I feel as people, we're not designed to just work and make other people rich. Like, you go in a corporate office, thousands of people are working to make one person rich or a handful of people rich. So all these people work, and one person gets rich. I think that's bullshit. We're not designed to be like that. We're designed to contribute to a community. Like, okay, you grow this, well, I make this. Can we trade? Like, that's how we're designed to be. And now, like, these people are all stuck in traffic, all going to the same place, making one person rich. Like, I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I'd rather be poor. I'd rather not have a house than do that. I'd rather cardboard box. Because that cardboard box is going to have a badass knife grinder, anvil, and a forge. Nah. I should stop rambling. Nobody wants to hear my. Okay, so now we just got to do the spine, and then we're going to move on to the handle. And, you know, I'm not going to do the final like hand rub on it until I'm done fitting the handle and everything, because I might scratch it again. I don't know, whatever. And so we're going to fit up the handle tomorrow because I got some other knives to do, and then we are going to move on. Okay, I gotta go.